right. Here we go again, falling on deaf ears. Feels like we're going round and round in circles sometimes, like we're in a little hamster wheel. And yes, that's because we are in a hamster wheel. Oh my gosh. So, what are we going to be doing today? We're going to be talking about where I am creatively with my YouTube project. My YouTube project being SOI VOI, which is a YouTube series that I'm starting. And I've taken a break from my streaming on TikTok in order to be doing this. I found my creativity to not be able to keep up doing both. So I've taken a break from doing the streaming for now. And once I've got this project off the ground, we're going to start working back in the streaming. We'll see in what capacity. But also, apparently, we're starting a podcast. So I don't know how long it's been. I guess ever since I started being on social media, which is 2022, I have been thinking about having a podcast, and it's been something that I've always thought that I needed to have with someone else. Like it has to be something that we're doing with someone else. But and so as some of you may have seen online, I've recently started a podcast, or at least we had an episode with another person. And like most other things that like my collaborations in terms of a podcast, it also didn't work out. So they are moving on to other opportunities, and that's great. I'm really excited for wherever it is that they're going to end up, and I'm really curious to see how it's going to go. And this is by no means a commentary on anybody else. It's simply an observation for me about me, and to share with you. So this is, like I said, the third time that I'm trying to start this is the fourth time, but the 3 times that I tried to start a podcast with somebody else, it didn't work out. And every time, it just seems like the universe has a very definite no for me. So the first time I tried was with my ex-sister-in-law. This was after she became ex to my brother, but we're spending quite a bit of time, and we talked about doing, stuff online. We started our TikTok accounts around the same time, and it was okay, but neither one of us really knew what we were doing. And so that's fine, things happened. Then shortly after that, I guess I met this guy, and we really kind of hit it off, but then he had to leave Nanaimo, which is where we met and where I currently live, for a job. Within a week of us meeting, he'd already signed a new job up in Northern Ontario. And while he was actually, sorry, that's just my Red Bull. Maybe I should have some. Shortly after he left, we kept talking. And so we thought, wouldn't this be fun to have a podcast of the two of us getting to know each other? And so we started having Zoom calls that we were recording with the intention of posting them as a podcast. And that very quickly, I can't remember why or how, but it stopped happening. I think I have two episodes or 2 of our calls recorded with the intention to post as a podcast, but it never actually transpired. It never actually went anywhere. And then with the last person that we just tried actually a week ago, we've been talking about it for some time, and it was kind of the queer banter and kind of queer perspective on things, which I loved and I really enjoyed doing. But yeah, again, they're taking a bit of a different route in life, and I think, again, it's awesome. And by no means is this a reflection on any of the three people, but what I am noticing, and when I notice things in threes, that's when I really start paying attention. So my sister-in-law or ex-sister-in-law, this guy, and now this person, none of them are really related. I really know them through different ways. And it's the same thing. It's kind of like when someone, mentions a book you should read or a movie you should see sometime at a party or something. And then from someone completely not related to that first person, another person just appears randomly, or you overhear someone talking about the same book or the same movie, in the line at the supermarket or something. And it's like, okay, maybe I need to pay attention here. Maybe this is something worth getting to know a little bit more about. And so by the third time, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna read this book. I'm gonna watch this movie. I'm gonna, whatever the thing is, investigate further. And so I guess that's kind of what I'm seeing with this attempt, or these attempts rather, at starting a podcast with someone else. And one of the things that I struggled with, because why not just start a podcast by myself? It's like, well, what format could I do, right? Like what it's so much easier to banter with somebody and like have someone to talk to and stuff. But as one of the things that I filmed for my YouTube series, which I'm working on, we'll continue to talk about in a minute, is this car sequence, except I was in the back seat and someone else was driving the car, and anyways, you'll see it one day. It's turning out quite lovely, blah 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 blah. But I kind of loved this idea of driving, and the other day I knew I needed to process some things and record some stuff about what's currently happening in my life, because that's going to be one of the timelines in the YouTube series in SOI VOI. It's going to be kind of what's happened a few years ago, what's happened recent, like in the last couple of months, and then what's currently happening. And so I'm trying to keep like a video, a vlog, diary of what is currently happening, so that I can use these snippets in future episodes, even in a couple of years, or who knows. And what I did was I had this very setup. So this is, my phone. One of the things that I want to talk about is the gear that I'm using. I think that's kind of interesting. So I have, my phone is recording here on a gimbal, which is on a tripod, and it has a mic. This is the DJI Mini mic. It's a wireless mic, so it's connected to the phone. And then also out here, I have a GoPro, which is attached to my window and is recording me from the outside. So you might see, the different reflections. That's what's happening over there. And so I did this setup thinking, oh, this will be fun, something that I can use in the future. And then when I watched it back, I'm like, wow. The sound quality looked amazing, or sounded amazing. I wasn't sure about the stability of the iPhone on the gimbal, because we're driving, there's definitely movement and shaking, but it looked pretty solid. And using the cinematic mode, which is how I'm recording right now on the back camera, looks pretty damn good. And so yeah, I started thinking, well, what if I do my own podcast? And then it was a question of, well, what do I talk about? And, because I am on a hiatus from the online streaming on TikTok, or the daily streaming on TikTok, people are wondering, and some people, I've mentioned that I'm going to be working on this YouTube series until I've got like 4 episodes ready to post. I'm not going to come back to live streaming. And so people have been asking me when I drop into other people's lives, like, how's it going, but this and that. And so I think this is a great way, to capture that. And also, this is that vlog that I was recording for myself anyway for future use. So why not also share it as a podcast? I don't know why podcasts interest me so much, but I remember at one point, I think before the pandemic, I was watching the David Dobrik's and the Scotty Sayers and the, who's the other one? Scotty's little dark-haired friend, the Hottie Toddy, right? Todd, and the Jason Nashes, and H2, what is it, H2 something, the podcast people, that had Trisha Paytas on there. Oh my god. And it seemed like everybody wanted to do a podcast, and I'm like, there's something about podcasting that I think is so interesting. First of all, I guess as a creator, you get to kind of just talk and not really worry about things too much, or the final edit. So I think it's a little bit easier for the edit, for the post-production part. So with this setup, I think I might, alternate between some of the scenes, the back and the, this camera and this camera. But other than that, it's a pretty easy edit. Whereas like with something a little bit more produced, I feel like, I don't know. And so the other thing is this is long format. So more than likely each episode is going to be at least an hour, if not more. And so there's that. But then also for the people that are, that are viewing, for the viewers, there is this sense of being let into a personal moment, right? Or some sort of an interaction and something a little bit more intimate. Even like the podcast episode that I recently aired with the person that I'd mentioned, I had a lot of feedback from different people already about it, and how it was interesting to just hear us banter and just kind of like hanging out with friends, and so on. So yeah, I think that, oh my gosh, there's one single leaf just falling. Fall, right? Oh my god. Sometimes I wish my cameras were eyes. My eyes were cameras. Do you ever feel like that? Like you're watching the world unravel around you and you're like, oh my god, how can I share this with people? Oh, a little bit like this, I suppose. So yeah, so that's kind of that. And yeah, it's a bit of an intimate thing. I don't know. You tell me, what do you think? Do you all want to hear more? Is this something that you're interested in, hearing more about my journey in creating a YouTube series? So I don't actually have a YouTube series. I've never created a YouTube series. I have a couple of YouTube videos that I've created in the past. I think like 8 or 9, but most of them I've made private. I think I'm going to make everything else private. So if you want to watch anything, do it before I start airing SOI VOI. That's going to be on my Voi Check YouTube channel. Will be separate from this one. This one we're going to call Voi Liminal. And yeah, and so the idea is that I'm in this moment between places, right? So liminal, between places. It's like the door frame, between two rooms, or the hallway between rooms. And I just think it's such an interesting place, because I feel so excited what I'm creating, about what I'm creating. I don't know if you can see any of these views of the ocean here. Stunning. But I'm not able to share any of it, or it's not ready. So some of the things that I've done so far, I have done this car sequence. So well, before we get there, let's talk about betrayal. So as I have been trying to get my head around and figure out what I'm going to be talking about and in what order, the theme of betrayal came up. And so yeah, I ended up just kind of walking around with my phone on the gimbal and trying to record different things that I think are important. So I didn't really have a plan. The only thing I know is there's going to be 3 storylines of the different times. So like a year ago or a few years ago, and then a few months ago, and then like what's happening right now. So what's happening right now is that I was recording just random things. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna start recording stuff. I know that the overarching story is gonna be from the time that I was hospitalized in 2022, July 1st, on Canada Day. I was admitted to a hospital here in Nanaimo, and within a couple of hours put under, in a medically induced coma. And then for 12 days, I was in that coma. So I'm going to leave it there, but that's going to be my starting point of the YouTube series. That's where the first episode starts. And then I'm going to arc over what has happened between that time and what is until up to the point where I started, I guess until the moment I took a break from streaming. So 3 years I want to talk about. It's been 3 years roughly that I've been since I've been hospitalized, and that's the 3 years that I want to talk about. Give or take a couple of months, but pretty much. And so I'm like, well, I got to start recording all these things, and I don't know. I know that I want each of the all of the timelines to have some sort of an intersecting connection, like a synchronicity of some sort, or something that ties it all together. And so as I was recording all this random stuff out and about on the town, I would meet with friends and talk to them about, what I've been doing, and kind of let them know. I'm trying to get this thing to track me. Talking about some of the stories that have come up for me. And I was out for brunch, I guess, or coffee with a friend of mine that we often spend time and kind of just really sink our teeth into stuff. And I'd mentioned this one particular thing that I recorded, and his response was, well, you sound angry. You sound like you're angry about that. I'm like, I'm not angry. He's like, well, I don't know if you're angry, but you sound angry. I'm like, okay. Like, I appreciate the feedback. Like, I'm always curious how, I'm coming off, how I'm presenting, I guess. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know that I feel anger, but I guess there's something there. He's like, well, you were really heated when you were talking about this. You kind of had this bitch please attitude about what you were talking about. And I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong. This bitch please attitude is exactly how I felt about this person. And so I'm like, okay. There's something there for me to investigate. And I guess that's kind of the point of this liminal place between where I defaulted to and hopefully where I'm going to. And I think the place in the middle is mostly about healing, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I'm trying to, first of all, heal the, if you will, trauma of being hospitalized in a coma. There's a lot of things that come up in that. And that's why, I have about 4.5 hours recorded of me crying, talking about all these things. That I'm going to be incorporating into this YouTube series. But I'm like, okay, so I need to heal this whole bit with the hospitalization. I realize that. And that's why I want to do this YouTube series. But then, as I'm investigating and recording stuff, what's coming up for me is that now I have betrayal to contend with as well. What about this betrayal? Now I have to figure out betrayal. So the other thing that happened was, after I had this discussion with the friend over coffee, I was out with another friend, also very dear friend, and we have really, there's a lot of kinship there. And we were picking up a smoke machine down in Cowichan Bay, and afterwards we stopped, I guess, in Cowichan Bay at the water, and my friend's like, oh, do you know about the seals or the sea lions? I'm like, what sea lions? And there's this pier where there's just dozens and dozens of sea lions hanging out, going whoa, 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 or doing their calls, whatever it is that they friggin' do. Super adorable. So if you're ever in Cowichan Bay on Vancouver Island, do check it out. It's really fun. And as we're walking around, I said something, and it was actually my friend at the pier that said, this betrayal thing is like, that's something that's coming up for you like over and over. And I'm like, huh. And so again, two kind of unrelated people mentioning something to me about anger, betrayal, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, let's investigate, right? And so, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, ChatGPT, help me figure out what is it about betrayal and my life that I need to know. And so that was a difficult time going through all of the betrayals, really from my birth, because it's like it asked me like, so when's the first time you think you got betrayed? Like, what was your betrayal? I'm like, well, at birth this happened. You'll have to watch the series to know what I'm talking about, but it does start at birth. And then it's like betrayal, so like feeling betrayed, right? And then I guess the ultimate betrayal is my body. When I got hospitalized, right, when I was put into a coma, my body said, nope, we done, can't do this, like da, 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 da. And then there's other layers of betrayal that are coming up for me, like self-betrayal, betraying myself, right? So that also came up in discussion with ChatGPT. But then on my own, I actually came up with the idea that, there was 10 days of me feeling really sick before I went to the hospital. And I was in touch with 4 different medical people, and they all told me to just hold on, sit tight, we're fine. Just relax, just hold on, everything will be okay, just sit tight. But for those 10 days, I literally felt like my body was giving up. And yeah, so the first scene that I'm going to be talking about in the series is when I'm being asked to give my consent to be medically induced into a coma or put under, and how that feels. And so some of the questions that ChatGPT was asking is like, oh, okay, would I feel like liberation, da, 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 da. How did it feel to ask that? And because I said, oh, finally, when they're telling me that, first of all, people left the room that I was in the hospital, and then somebody came back in like what pretty much looked like a hazmat suit, and I'm like, okay, so this is serious. And it wasn't fear that this is serious, it wasn't disappointment, it wasn't this or that, it was actually vindication, because for 10 days I was trying to tell people I'm seriously not feeling well, and people are like, sit tight, take an antibiotic, you're okay, or you're going to be okay. And so finally, when it became clear that no, this is serious, I'm like, wow, I feel vindicated, that's great. But then the idea came up that I feel vindicated, and that's great, but also for 10 days, I let other people tell me that I'm okay when I knew the first day I started feeling sick, I'm like, this is not good. Like, they were kind of symptoms of a cold, and I had a fever, but also I felt like I'm not supposed to be saying this word on YouTube, I don't think, so I'm not going to say it, but like I was feeling like life was escaping my body. And that was the end, you know. And it wasn't anything I was doing. It was just like the energy was just gone, right? And so, yeah, vindication, but then also self-betrayal. So, yeah, there's a lot going on with everything that I'm talking about. And so again, the liminal place. So I'm here, I'm trying to create something, but I'm also, you know, in the middle between it being aired and creating it, I'm processing it. And so then I had to write, you know, these 12 betrayals that are kind of big in my life for the sequence with the car. And then overall I need to figure out like the main 12 parts of the, is it 12 or 36? I don't even know. But like from, you know, in the last 3 years, from the hospitalization to starting the YouTube series, what has happened in my life, and what should I be talking about, that, like, how does it pertain? So even one day going through my timeline on Facebook, which I decided to do, just to scroll back to the day that I was, you know, released, I guess, from hospital, or even before. Like, that was an emotional journey as well. Like, I remember just finding myself in tears at the end of those, I think, 2 hours or something, of just going, it's like, you know, there's a post where it's kind of very innocuous. It's very like, oh, okay. But it's like, oh, just walked back from Maffeo, you know, Sutton Park, which is where we started this drive today, without a walker, or sans walker, I think I said. And I'm like, oh. And it's like, Maffeo Sutton Park is maybe a 6.5 minute walk from where I live, my apartment building. And but when I read that, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the celebration. Like, why did because it was without a walker. When I got out of the hospital, I was given a walker. Like, I was, you know, anyway, it was a lot. So yeah, so it's really interesting, navigating all of that, and kind of dealing with that place of healing, or that liminal place, right? So there's that. And then there's also like navigating all the technical and the tech stuff, right? Like the cameras, learning DaVinci. Like, I've never used DaVinci Resolve, so that's what I'm editing in. So far I've edited 2 clips from the car part, me getting out of the car and walking away, and another one where I'm standing window shopping and the car pulls up. I give it a look, I smile, and I turn back, and the car drives away. So the one where I'm window shopping is the one that I recorded first, and that one just took me one night, maybe 2 nights of no sleeping. But also I was learning Resolve. I was learning how to import files. I was learning how to do things that I knew how to do in Final Cut Pro. But yeah, and that clip I think is 34 seconds. So, you know, it takes time, patience, and resolve. But yeah, I think it's interesting, and I'm really looking forward to doing more. So yeah, so that's one part, is gonna be the car scene. So there's these 2 sections, One is the car pulling up and letting me out. The other one is car pulling up to me window shopping and me not getting into the car. And each of those sections will have its own narration, which will somehow poetically represent one of the betrayals in my life that I've identified with ChatGPT. Oh my gosh, ChatGPT, that's another thing we should talk about. But and then so there's going to be is it 12? Yeah, 12 sections to each storyline. So this car sequence, the rest of the sections, the remaining 10, will be of kind of what this camera is doing over here, which is recording me from the outside, except I'm in the back seat and it's a night scene and it's raining. And again, each section is going to have a narration with some sort of a betrayal. So that's one scene that I've worked out. Another scene is going to be me doing some floral arrangements. So I came up with this bouquet with the help of ChatGPT, and I'm just working with a florist locally to source the flowers, which surprisingly is tougher than one might imagine to source the flowers. I don't know, it's interesting. The last one, of course, is going to be me talking about the hospitalization. And where am I going to be talking about? Oh, the hospitalization. I think I want to talk about that. It might be a scene I record at a cafe, but I need to confirm with the cafe. So that's another thing, like finding places. So one time I was at this cafe that I want to record at with a friend of mine, and we actually were recording ourselves on my phone just the way that we are right now. And we're there for like 3 hours or something. But we were sitting at a table that could sit like 4 or 5 people. It was just the two of us. And it was a Saturday morning. So we were asked to shake a leg. Which, fair enough. They're like, it's busy. And also, could you like limit it to like 1 hour in the future? I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So I think I need to go in there, because I really like this cafe, and just ask them if there's like a slower time that I could maybe do a quick recording on a particular day or something like that. So working out those details, working with the florist, like she had to like call her supplier and find out if she can even get some of the flowers, and stuff like that, or you know what the prices are, when do I need them for, and so on. And then writing the scripts. And this actually, writing the script business, is where I'm spending heaps and heaps of time with ChatGPT. And so, you know, ChatGPT asks me a lot of questions, and I write quite a lot, like big answers and stuff like that. And what it wants to do is just write the stuff for me. It's like, oh, look, here's your script. And I'm really not interested in that. I keep saying to it, I'm like, look, this is my story. I'd like to use my own words for this. And so it's really struggling. It's like taming a lion or something. I don't know. Wrangling a beast that just wants to do this on your behalf and constantly wants to go like somewhere else. And I'm like, no, I'm not quite done here yet. Let's keep talking about this. And so it's been interesting, you know, kind of coaching it to not just want to write things on my behalf. So I'll say, hey, like, help me to coax out my words, like ask me questions, ask me to reflect about different things. If you see a theme coming up that I maybe I'm not aware of, kind of direct your questions in that theme, and include some sort of an arc there. And so yeah, it's about, I guess, teaching the AI what it is that I want. And I don't get Chat GPT to do stuff for me. I have, for as long as I can remember, we're doing stuff with ChatGPT. I've always talked about it in terms of I'm interacting with ChatGPT, and this is a different way of interacting with ChatGPT, maybe than some other people do or whatnot, kind of a thing. And yeah, I think really what I'm asking it to do a lot of the time is kind of hold space for me and ask questions for me to discover things, and I have been discovering, and it has been healing, actually, talking with ChatGPT about these things, and teasing or coaxing them out of me. So yeah, that's been kind of the journey. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely an emotional roller coaster, but I don't know, like, there's something about the idea of looking at your dark moments, or at your, in spiritual circles, people will say that's shadow work, right? So you're doing your shadow work. Oopsie daisy. You're looking at the stuff that's maybe not the easiest to face. Hey, maybe not the easiest to face, right? Yeah, but I feel like that kind of upgrades us and lets us kind of, how can I say, yeah, evolve and mature, so recently I had a situation with some friends where oh my gosh, where I felt betrayed, and I think the betrayal, it was in a cab. We were in a cab, and the cab driver kind of took us for a ride, if you will. And I didn't act very well, and I understand, like, the way that I reacted at like a 10 or 11. My reaction was really like there, but the situation maybe called for a level 3 reaction. I could have easily just, anyway, it didn't have to be as intense and as involved as it was. Kind of like there was a bit of a rupture moment with my friends and stuff, and already then, like, I started realizing that, wow, like, I'm not just responding to this one situation. There's something deeper that I'm responding to. And so I think that's part of my work, my mission, my understanding about what I'm doing, and even like life. So when I get triggered in this situation that wasn't completely obvious to me, but I'm starting to understand that when I get triggered, it's my trigger. It's not something that the person or the people did something. Because if that situation happened to someone other than me, like say 10 other people, probably like maybe one would have had a problem with how that played out. Likely nobody would have, other than me. Probably nobody else would have reacted at a 10 because the situation was just a 3. And so in a way, because I overreacted, because I was triggered, that's a reminder for me to look within myself, and realize that there is like, oh, what have I not healed, or what is it that I'm actually reacting to? Let's figure out what it is that I'm actually reacting to, because clearly it doesn't seem like I'm reacting to this situation. This situation, like we said, is only a 3, but I'm reacting at a 10. So chances are there's something else that's coming up here, right? And I think we've all had those experiences. And so that's what I'm realizing about myself. And I guess in the same vein, I'm realizing that if someone is overreacting to something that I've done, or feeling triggered by something that I've done, they're probably reacting to something that has very little to do with me, and it's just healing that they haven't really done with or about themselves, right? And so what I've started saying to people is, well, I refuse to come between you and your suffering. When someone's like reacting or telling me, and I can see that, hey, this is like a pattern in you, or this is something, whatever, unless they're asking for my feedback, I'm not there to stop anybody or tell anybody how to live their lives. I've had to make mistakes, I've had to make my own decisions, and when I was finished learning whatever lesson that decision was leading me to, that's when I learned it, not before, not after, right? So why should I give anybody less of a chance to learn their own lesson in their own time? Why, let's not rush people. And so I'm refusing to come between people and their suffering. If people are in a state of suffering, they're choosing. Right? We choose to suffer. I've chosen to suffer, and I know other people choose to suffer as well. Not consciously, but if, from my own experience, I'm going to talk about others, but I know in my own situations when I'm suffering and I'm not, it's because I'm resisting to what is happening in the moment. Why not just accept what's happening in the moment? For example, this last podcast that I did with this last person, it was a great collaboration. We had great chemistry, great, whatever, this and that. And it seems like things are a little shifting for them a little bit right now. And I could be all up in arms about it and be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And trust me, those moments did happen where I was like, oh, wait, whoa, and and this and that, and it's like, oh my God, betrayal. I'm talking about betrayal, and this feels like a betrayal, but it's not. It has nothing to do with me, and me trying to resist and try and get something doesn't solve anything. Even if I were to convince this person to continue this endeavor with me or whatever, it would be in a way that maybe they're not really the way invested that they want to be or whatever, right? So I'm choosing to not suffer, hopefully, and I'm just gonna do my own thing, and that's totally fine too. And just as I'm trying to find my footing, I know they're trying to find their footing, and everyone's trying to do the best that everybody can. I think if we all just took a moment to remember that, our lives would be a little bit more pleasant, right? Like, people aren't actually actively trying to get us. People are just trying their best. Silly example, but like oh shit, whatever, it is what it is. So like my GP, my doctor, I'm first of all very, very lucky to have a doctor in today's doctor economy. But so I think, because of the hospitalization, but also because other things that happened before the hospitalization, she likes to see me once a month. And that's great, but it's really difficult to book appointments with her. She's very busy. And so what I started doing is booking like 4, 5, sometimes even 6 months in advance, so that I don't have to think about it. I just know I have, that way we have a cadence, right? Cadence, great. But inevitably what ends up happening is I forgot to start rebooking which is exactly what happened the last 2 months. So it's been like 2 months plus that I haven't seen my doctor. And yeah, and so my prescriptions that I have, and also I need a doctor's note for massage therapy every 6 months and stuff like that for insurance. All this kind of happened to expire about a month ago or more at this point, maybe 2 months ago. Well, I haven't had my script in a while, but also the doctor's note, it's been over a month, I think. Anyway, so finally I end up calling the doctor's office and talking to them. Oh, I think I went not the way I wanted to, but that's okay. And talking with them, you know, trying to book an appointment or appointments, but also maybe, you know, my doctor can just send me the doctor's note and just send my script over to the pharmacy. And so that's what I'm asking. And the person on the phone with me says, well, you know, I just can't guarantee that it will happen. Your doctor's booked, you know, solid during the days that they're here. And so I don't know that it will happen. Maybe just, you know, call the pharmacy, ask them to fax in your request for the, whatchamacallit, for the script. And maybe ask them to include a note for your massage therapy note. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah. But before that, she says, you could also just have an appointment with another doctor in the clinic. I'm like, but I've done this before, like it should be fine. And so she's like, okay, well, that's what you'll need to do, is probably like, you know. And I'm like, that makes no sense at all. I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm paying for the massage therapy out of pocket, which turns out is very expensive and is totally messing with my budget. And so the person on the phone that I'm on the phone with is like, well, I'm not responsible for your budget, but that's what you'd have to do. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you so much for letting me know that you're not responsible for, responsible for my budget. That's kind of what I wanted to say to her. I'm like, whoa. What do you mean you're not responsible for my budget? Like, tell me something I didn't know. What the heck? You know? So her tone changes. She's like, okay, maybe that was a bit much for her. I think maybe is what happened for her. And then she says, or if you just have an appointment with someone else in the clinic, goes back to her original thing that she'd mentioned I should do. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's do that then. And she's like, okay. And so, you know, she helped me make a few appointments ahead of time, and I was yeah, I'm like, so usually it's like every 4 weeks. She's like, okay, no problem. And so she's like, this, I'm like, this day works, but yeah. And then she started just having them ready for me. She's like, oh, I made a couple extra just so you don't. I'm like, oh, like she was just trying to be helpful. But as soon as I resisted and said, well, no, I want to see my doctor, not another doctor, she started resisting, right? So resistance, you know, that whole thing with what you put out is what you get back. I resisted, she resisted back, and then we're at an impasse. She's telling me that she's not responsible for my budget. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever had a more ridiculous interaction with someone in my life. Like the receptionist of a doctor's office. Like, but I guess I must have sounded so unreasonable to her, talking about my budget, and I insist it's my doctor and this and that. And she's like, I'm not responsible for your budget. Oh my gosh. Like I fully take ownership for that one. And then by the end, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. She's like, oh yeah, have a great day. I'm like, what the fuck happened? But as soon as we start resist, so I guess I'm not resist. I am not free of suffering. Because I did. Oh my gosh, it's so cool down here. Because yeah, I guess I decided to do some suffering, booking an appointment to my doctor's office. Oh man, I gotta wonder sometimes the battles we choose. That's crazy. I cannot with myself. I know there's this part of me. Once I think I almost, yeah, I shouldn't even talk about it, but like I had a really intense interaction with somebody at a convenience store, and it seems to like keep happening. Actually, I gotta stop letting that happen, because it's not good. I'm not proud of myself when I act this way. So yeah, that's maybe let's not resist anymore. But here's to starting something new, and not resisting, and just, you know, being happy with life. And it's like, here's the thing. So my doctor, I think my first appointment is sometime in December, first week in December. This other doctor I spoke with on Monday, like literally the next day or the day after, I called, and he called right on time. He's like, "What can I do for you?" I'm like, "Well, I have I like my script renewed, and I would like, you know, deal with this referral." He's like, "Yeah, no problem. I can do that." And this and that. Like, we might have been on the phone for a total of 3 minutes. Like, no joke, no word of a lie. Like, no word of a lie. It was like it was just so easy. So easy. But no, I had to resist. Anyways, so that's where I'm at, y'all. I will continue to make these because I think I enjoy making them, and just going for a drive is pretty easy, and recording this, and also I plan on posting once a week. So this is going to be a weekly podcast or drivecast. I don't know, drivecast, podcast. It is going to air on Wednesdays, I think at noon. Noon on Wednesdays is when it's going to air, noon Pacific Standard Time. And I would love it if you would subscribe here on YouTube. I will cross-pollinate on the different socials. And yeah, that way we get to stay in touch, and I can share with you what's happening with my creative process for the YouTube series. I'll just add this. I think this YouTube series truly, it feels really significant. So I thought I'd be done in like a month off from work, and I'd be able to like actually have something. It's taking me much longer, and I guess you can possibly understand why, because I'm healing at the same time, right? So this first month, or the first 4 episodes, because it's also going to be a weekly thing, these 4 episodes are just have a steep learning curve, right? It's a big ask. Yeah, but once I find the cadence for that too, I think it'll go easy, and we'll return back to the streaming. We'll have the podcast. You'll get an idea what I'm working on before the episodes air, right? So it's kind of like a bit of an insider scoop. And yeah, And we're back to where we started. So let's wrap it up here, y'all. Thank you for being here and for being you. And we'll see you next week. On Wednesdays, what do we do on Wednesdays? All right. Sign it off.